Hi, we're beginning to do the first part of the cluster stitch. I already have my stitch marker on, which denotes the end of the round. And for this particular cluster, we're going to knit one and yarn over twice. We're going to do that for a total of 5 times. I'm doing in continental method here first. We're going to do the English method in a second. So that was 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what we have essentially done, we've knitted the first stitch, yarned over twice, knit the second stitch, yarn over twice, knit the third stitch, fourth stitch. Okay, so this is the beginning of my cluster stitch. We're going to do a full round. Now I've taken my cluster stitches for this particular project and I'm separating it with 3 knit stitches in between. This particular project that I'm doing has garter stitch. And I also did a design factor in this particular project where I put a picot that's going to go directly underneath this cluster stitch when it is completed. And then I've spaced my picots out so that each time those picots will go underneath these cluster stitches. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do this in the English method. Okay, so we knit the first stitch, and then yarn over twice. 1, 2, knit the next stitch, and again yarn over twice. 1, 2, much more clumsier knitting English style. I'm used to continental. Again, it's knitter's preference, whatever is your favorite way of holding your needles. Making sure I get those 2 yarn overs. Okay, now if I have forgotten where I'm at, okay, I've got my 3 stitches, so there should have been knit 1, yarn over twice, 2, 3, 4, and I've just done number 5. Again, I'm not seeing, okay, what I've done here. What did I do there? I knitted and I knitted, so I needed another yarn over in there instead of talking. I'm not paying attention. Okay, so here's where I need to have my yarn overs. Okay, now knit the 3, and I've switched back to continental. Alright, so again we have our 3 knit stitches back here. 1, 2, 3, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over twice, again knit 1, yarn over twice, yarn over twice, yarn over twice, and then knit 3. That is getting everything set up in order to do the actual cluster, which will be in part 2. Okay, so we've made our way around and we're beginning to do the second part of the cluster stitch. Normally you'd be knitting back and forth. Since I'm knitting in the round, I had to change this part to purl the stitches instead of knitting the stitches. Alright, the pattern tells you to purl the next 5 stitches together and drop the yarn overs. Then you do a yarn over, purl 5 stitches together, do a yarn over, and purl 5 stitches together. Okay, so originally we had 5 stitches. Here's the first actual stitch, and I'm simply going to slip that stitch over to the right hand needle, dropping the yarn overs as I do so. Second stitch, drop the yarn overs. Third stitch, drop the yarn overs. Fourth stitch, drop the yarn overs. Fifth stitch, drop the yarn overs. Okay, so now I have all 5 stitches, and by pulling on them I have elongated them. Now I need to purl the 5 stitches together, so I simply insert the left hand needle in. We're set up to do a purl stitch. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to purl 5 together, and I should be I'm doing this continental method at the moment. I'm going to do a yarn over. I'm going to purl 5 together. Notice I have 3 stitches now. I'm going to do a yarn over, and I'm going to purl 5 stitches again and do the yarn, and we're done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can move those 5 stitches off of the needle. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to purl the next 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, let me switch hands. We'll do it English method. So we're going to remove the first stitch. This is simply to set it up. For me, this was the easiest way to do this rather than try to manipulate getting all these stitches and purling them together. Okay, so here's number 2. Remove the yarn overs. Here's number 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Up. Alright, there's our 5 stitches. Now I made a mistake because I'm purling and I did not bring my yarn to the front, so I just move it over. Okay, so now my stitches are ready to purl. Purl 5 together, and make sure you don't catch one of the elongated stitches. So you want to make sure you stay clear and only pull up the yarn. Alright, so we've purled 1, do a yarn over, purl 2, yarn over, purl 3. And if we look at the number of stitches, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remove them from the left hand needle and purl the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the 3 stitches that are going in between are simply to spread these cluster stitches out. Again, for this particular project, I wanted the clusters directly over picot stitches. So it's just a design factor. I could have done cluster stitches next to each other, but for this particular purpose, I'm spreading them out for a particular design. The basic thing is just to know how to do your cluster stitches. Again, if you were going back and forth, you would have knitted the first row, knit 1, yarn over twice, do that 5 times, and then when you came back, if you were working back and forth, instead of purling, you would have gone ahead and done knit stitches instead. So knowing how to adjust your patterns in order to do a stitch is a critical thing, because that way you can get the effects that you want by changing something from doing it back and forth and doing it into the round. So in this case, we did the purl stitches. Till next time, thank you.